Fair, what you say?
Isn't this a first?
No, I looked at,
Two games. And that's it.
there wasn't a whole lot of those. I can't remember whose it was. It was somebody local, maybe Indian Hills. Anchorage or somebody that I borrowed something from.
Just two times.
I had to go back and look. It was somebody in Kentucky, I know that.
If I.
It's all right. Well, some are healthy. So. I think Perry was hurt. Perry jammed his hand. That's why it gets so sweet to it. That's sad.
You're only hold.
I hear you.
Oh. I wasn't here. I know who you are. Yeah. Thank you. How you been, John? Good.
Sally keeps saying line. She's funny. She, do this and don't do that. Not so fast. I'm just saying.
You have a lot of, a lot of direct.
Oh, yeah. I keep her busy.
We are live and good to go whenever you're ready, boss.
Thank you.
I think it's a few minutes, I think it's a few minutes till 7.
Yeah.
Christian's on her way. She'll be here in just a minute. So
2 minutes.
give her a couple of minutes.
Sun will be up when we leave today. Sun will still be up when we leave.
I like his optimism on a short meeting.
Just to get out there and turn, I think there's still a little sun.
Is that right?
I think it should be a short meeting.
I didn't know you could set for that. I have,
Oh, it's not.
oh, I didn't.
Thank you, sir.
1,000. Thanks. Thanks.
Okay.
Is it? Nah. I had a boo-boo. Oh, yeah, sure enough. Oh, yeah. It's the thumbs correct. I have. No, it's not. Generous.
Christian is on her way, probably be here in just a minute or two, but we'll go ahead and get started at 7 o'clock. Today is Monday, March 17, 2025. The time is 7 o'clock. Welcome everyone to the regular city council meeting for the city of Prospect, Kentucky. The first item, I'm Doug Farnsley, I'm the mayor. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes, and that's the minutes of the February 26, 2025 special council meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any discussion, any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed? The minutes stand approved. Next item on the agenda our citizen comments. We have two people signed up to speak this evening. The first is Lynn Granger. So Lynn, will step up.
I'll make a few comments about my good friend Linda Wardell. We've worked together for quite some time on the Prospects Park Commission. I don't know how long it is, but I'm pretty sure we both first started, we were in our 30s. I've had the pleasure of serving with Linda Wardell on our Parks and Recreation Committee for nearly 20 years. Could be over 20 years, but sounds like a good number to pick. Since our initial Eagle Scout projects in 2011, through the completion of our 44th project a few months ago, Linda has been an invaluable resource to me. Not a shovel of dirt was turned or a cedar board cut without her direct involvement. Numerous one-on-one conversations, phone calls, and emails with her helped ensure the best possible outcome for each scout and for Prospect. Always on point, always positive, always constructive, her leadership style has been and remains a pleasure to serve under. Over the years, the park system has truly become one of the jewels of our city. No doubt this community sparkles a bit more due to her efforts. A great supporter Prospect, a wonderful friend to all who know her, it is my hope that we will recognize her immeasurable contribution to the city by naming the new Harrods Park Stream Bridge the Linda Wardell Bridge.
Thank you, Lynn.
John, I told you I got to hold it to 3 minutes, so I tried to go back and do that. Linda, thank you very much. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
And I've got a Boy Scout meeting too.
Thank you.
See you, Lynn.
So Lynn alluded to the resolution that's on the agenda, and that's the context for his comments, and also for the comments of Carolyn Embry, who has signed up to speak.
Well, Linda Wardell is truly the heart and soul of the Prospect Parks and Recreation Committee. Her leadership, her vision, her passion, her dedication, and her perseverance have resulted in numerous improvements and enhancements to our Prospect parks. The new bridge being one, but not the only one of these improvements and enhancements. Whenever Linda has a vision for something, she sees it through to completion. If there are roadblocks or obstacles in the way, not a problem. Linda works to resolve them. She works with the city officials, with Parks and Recreation Committee members, with consultants, with contractors, and she gets it resolved, much to the betterment of our Prospect Parks and to the community. I think it's certainly not an overstatement to say that Linda Wardell is one of the most dedicated, most beloved volunteers that the city of Prospect has ever had. So I think it's totally fitting and appropriate that this new bridge be named in her honor. And I want to thank the mayor and members of the council for recommending that and putting that in place. So thank you for that. And thank you, Linda, for all your hard work, all your dedication, and your passion for the parks. And thank you for helping to make our park system truly the crown jewels of our community.
So Linda, it looks like you may have some family members that joined you. So the good news is the two people who've spoke about Linda, and it's going to be available on YouTube. You can watch the comments later. But we have not acted yet on the resolution. That'll come up later in the meeting. So we're glad you all are here. So my report this evening will be brief. First, I'll second the comments made by Lynn and by Carolyn regarding Linda. And I look forward to the council's consideration of the resolution naming the stream crossing bridge in Linda's honor. During this report, I will discuss 5 upcoming events, and then we'll talk about our Architectural Review Committee. First, the Parks Committee invites you to join them in this room on this Saturday, March 22nd at 10 a.m. for a lecture and hike. The title of this event is Wild Soundscapes of Prospect. Our lecturer will be naturalist and sound artist Luke Pearson. Mr. Pearson works as an educator at the Louisville Nature Center and as a wildlife specialist for Cave Hill Cemetery. He has developed expertise in understanding and explaining wildlife sounds. Following Mr. Pearson's lecture, he will lead a hike to Putney Pond, and during the hike, he will continue to educate those present on the sounds found in nature. A second event this weekend will be the opening reception of Art in City Hall's 4th exhibition that is entitled Winter into Spring. The reception will take place this Sunday, March 23rd from 2 to 5 p.m. The exhibition will feature paintings, sculptures, and glassworks by outstanding Louisville area artists. In addition to enjoying the art and visiting with your friends, you will have the opportunity to see a portrait painting exhibition upstairs in the library. Noted portrait artist John Michael Carter will be painting a portrait of a Prospect resident. Cards concerning the event are available on the back table, and I encourage you to pick one up and certainly invite everybody to come Saturday to the lecture about sounds in nature and Sunday to the opening of the art exhibition. Two spring wildflower walks will take place at Harrods Creek Park. The first is scheduled for Sunday, April 6th at 1 p.m. and the second will take place 13 days later on Sunday, April 19 at 10 a.m. So just be on the lookout for that information to be repeated in an email from the city. A fifth event will be a cleanup of US 42 from Harrods Creek to Rose Island Road. The cleanup will take place on Saturday morning, April 12th, with the exact time to be determined. We will need 10 volunteers. I encourage you to sign up and to meet me on the morning of April 12th in the John Evans Pavilion. I'll note that you have to be 18 years of age to participate. Finally, I want to report briefly on the outstanding work being done by our new Architectural Review Committee. Don Gibson suggested we create this committee and that we ask it to provide design advice to our city council, to me, and to the developers of new commercial buildings. The committee has met with the developer of the major construction project that has been proposed for Prospect Point Center and has also met with the builder of a proposed new building that will be built for Evergreen Liquors. The meetings have led to significant improvements in the design of both projects. I express the city's thanks to Don Gibson for his good idea and to Bob Jacob, who is chairing the committee. I also extend thanks to our fellow citizens who are serving with Bob on the committee. That concludes my report, unless there are any questions. Okay. Reschedule. Oh, the May council meeting, I think is Monday, May 20. I think it's 20. I've got it. 19th. Yeah, Monday, May 19th is our regularly scheduled council meeting. I will be unable to attend on that date. I'll be through an error in scheduling. I'll be on an airplane traveling back to Louisville and the Prospect. So the council, we considered trying to reschedule it, have a special meeting. I think what we probably are going to do is go forward with the meeting. The council will need to select one of its members to serve as the chair of that meeting. But we'll make a further decision on that and we have further discussions about it between now and May 19th. The next item on the agenda are financial reports, and that's John.
Summarizing February's financials. I did send out the financial report to you this afternoon as soon as I got it. It's again running a little late. In any case, our current cash situation is we have 3.3 million in our investments with KLC, roughly $57,000 in checking. And so we have a total of 3.9 million on hand, of which 2.6 million is unrestricted and available. Just point out that we've had good interest earnings this year. We've already met budget on our interest earnings at this point, and that totals 121,000 as of the end of February. This point, we've spent roughly 88% of or we've earned 88% of our income, and got a misfigure here, sorry, but we're right on track both on income and expenditures. Restricted road aid currently tallies around $301,000. The capital project fund has a balance of just under $98,000. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John? All right. The next item on the agenda are commission and board reports. First report is the Architectural Review Committee. Bob Jacob.
We finalized some of the verbiage on the two ordinances that are being proposed for the first reading tonight. The first being on the allowance of pool houses in the city where here up to now they haven't been allowed. So we've changed the proposed ordinances to allow for pool houses with certain reservations and conditions such as the size of the lot and the size of the pool house. And I think that this is going to satisfy the wishes of those residents who want to put it in the needs of the city to kind of control the aesthetics and the appropriateness of the buildings being proposed. The second ordinance has to do with existing pools and the mechanics for the pools, the pumps and the filtration systems and so forth, in which we're proposing some changes so that there's a screen around these to act as a sound barrier and for the aesthetics of that. That one, this will be the first reading tonight, and I had some discussions with Don a few minutes ago that we're going to probably have to change some of the verbiage on that so we don't run into the debacle we had a few years ago when people could get quite creative when they try to circumvent the intent of an ordinance. So I think we need to tighten up the language on that some, so go through that again. So we don't have our next meeting scheduled, but we're making some pretty good gains on changing the ordinances, concentrating right now on commercial properties, big changes in this area over the next 10 years. We just want to be able to get ahead of it so that we have the look that we want for the city of Prospect.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for all your work. Are there any questions for Bob? Okay, thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Ethics Commission, John Embry.
Next time you're going to hear me talk about forms, at least for this, unless there's something that comes up later in the year. All the forms are in. This year, we seem to have seen more errors and omissions than in the past in terms of just blanks that weren't filled out or not applicables that weren't checked. So I plan on getting the group together and we're going to try to work on that. If any of you, all of you have filled out a form, anybody's got any suggestions, if you will get in touch with me, I'd love to hear them. Thank you.
Question. Thank you, John. Any questions for John? Thanks for your work. Thanks to your committee members, commission members. Linda Knox, Forestation Board.
One nice thing about the Forestation Board is it gets to work with Parks and Recreation. So over the years, I've gotten to know Linda pretty well, and I would second or third all the wonderful things that have been said and just the depth of her commitment and what she's accomplished to make this the community is today. So I too thank you for everything you've done. So going from parks, we're going to go to trees. We met last Thursday, and probably the highlight of the meeting is the spring canopy program. We had 10 residents sign up for trees, and the people participating are all over the community. So I think that's good news, and that kind of helps get the word out. And one person in particular that I was really excited about is somebody from the Landings. They have lost some of the Bradford pear trees, and so this has been a means for them to add trees back into their community. And they got one in the fall, and they're getting one this spring. So they're very excited that, you know, this program is available to them, not just what we do with the smaller trees at Arbor Fest. So we're not doing a whole lot with the hazardous trees right now because we're kind of waiting to see what winter has done to everybody. But I know Mike and John have been looking at the project and the best communication that we need to continue to keep an eye on things. I'm sure we'll have some new reports after all the storms. And so that was something we talked about. And then we're hoping that, you know, before the fall Arbor Fest, where we give away a lot of trees, that maybe we could have a tree workshop of some time and get somebody from Bernheim or Udell to come in and just talk about trees and how to take care of trees and what you need to do to be successful, and not only with the location, but the type of tree you pick. You know, there's a lot of little things that go in. And, you know, the other thing that does come up, I know Prospect Point is a work in progress, and we're hoping we have some communication with them in terms of planting to help that parking lot not just be concrete. So that's pretty much what we've been up to. If you've got any questions, need to know more about canopy trees, anything else?
Any questions for Linda? I'll mention, I think I mentioned to Linda, I did have had a couple of phone calls with the developer at Prospect Point and the proposed development and specifically about trees. And he said, we're going to be receiving a tree plan and he thinks we'll be pleased with it. And I told him that we look forward to seeing it and that we hopefully would be pleased.
Yeah, we're cautiously optimistic. Things with Chase turned out very nicely. So we're hoping this will be the same with this project.
They've been very professional and very easy to deal with and very responsive. So I'm hopeful. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Linda. Other reports, Jefferson County League of Cities.
Their next meeting for the Jefferson County, I think it's series is coming Thursday.
Okay, that's a good report. And I think it's at that time, Sandra, I think may be elected to the board. Yeah, so that's terrific.
Sigh of relief over there.
I see the baton being passed. Well, thank you, Don, for your service and for your very succinct report this evening. Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, Sally Schneider.
Wanted to expound a little bit on the program that we're going to do on Saturday. I'm very excited about it. I hope John Clark, I could get you to come back again to hike over to Putney Pond.
Sure.
Not putting you on the spot or anything. I think even if you don't want to do the hike with us, what he's going to really talk about is what nature is telling us and how to interpret it. So even if you don't go on the hike, you could come and listen and then incorporate what you learn in your own backyard. I also wanted to talk about our last lecture that we had about a week ago. We had 42 attendees. It was by far the best attended lecture that we have. It was on cybersecurity, fraud, and scams. We were fortunate enough to have Officer McKeon be one of our speakers and our Prospect resident, Terry Rankhorn. They both did an amazing job, and we are going to put, I think, John, you may have already done it, the entire lecture is going to be on our website. So those who didn't get to attend to will be able to reference it. I have so much homework to do that I learned from that lecture too. Still, I mean, if you think you know it all, go and look at the lecture because you probably don't. And then just the mayor talked about our upcoming wildfire walks and other programs. And I just wanted to personally take a few minutes to thank Linda for all of her hard work. It's really hard to put into words and not get a little emotional. Everything that she's done for us. And she's been so supportive of any programs and ideas. And it's, the transition, is gonna be difficult on all of us because none of us can replace her. So, thank you, Linda.
Thanks, Sally, for your report. Any questions for Sally? Carolyn?
I did want to ask, when you gave the dates for the wildfire watch,
Yeah.
did you read those again? Did you have your notes?
I-
I thought maybe something that wasn't. I have to think. It should be April sixth.
And April 19th is.
Yeah, and the April 19th was a Saturday. Not.
Oh, I thought one of them was a Saturday and one was a Sunday.
Well, yeah.
Did I say it
The
wrong?
6th is
I think it's
19th, that's Saturday.
I didn't mean to. Oh, I see that. I
The
see.
date's right.
Oh, no, you're right. I did say that. The first one is Sunday and the second one is Saturday. I had the date right, but not the day.
Yes.
Thank you for that correction. Okay. Next item on the agenda is our police report. Chief Denham.
Those days, the mayor had the opportunity to spend some time with all of our officers who were here the other day to get fitted for their vest. It's the wrong day. It was the right day, but the wrong day. So that's good advice, please. But you guys have spent some time with
I
it.
told them, I went up there, they're like 9 officers, and I said, this is one-stop shopping. Everybody's
It's awesome. Because he loves to meet with our guys, and that's why I told him, I said, hey, they'll all be here tomorrow.
It's a
Except for
great-
maybe,
It's a great group.
but Gauls was in Lexington. We were here, so we have to do it another day. Let me add to all the thank yous to Linda. It's like everybody else, that every day I'm around here, you're somewhere around, you're either out in the community. Ever since I've came here, you're always a part of everything and never one to seek attention. So that's what makes this place great. So thank you too, from all of our guys. To go over a couple quick things, quite a bit of training. We try to get as many of our guys in training during the winter months as we can. So when we get a little bit busier, we have the opportunity to have a full boat of people. A little bit of uptick in some domestic violence stuff going on. Not a big deal, not really a big deal. And it's kind of one family that's causing most of the issues. To start again, citations, guys are doing a tremendous job, but I go through and I look at some of the different trends and different things. About 15% of our citations from our traffic stops had people with no operator's license. I'm not sure really what the trend is or anything on that, but they automatically receive a ticket if there's not something going on with that. But it's kind of an uptick, kind of a weird thing of people not having a license. I talked to you guys last month about over on Wyndham. We had 2 vehicles that were, one was actually stolen. And believe it or not, when I talked about that last time, the owner of the house confronted the person. And believe it or not, the person jumped out of the vehicle and took off and left the car there. Never happens. I don't think it'll ever happen again. And I wouldn't recommend, I want to make sure people know this, don't confront these folks. Most of them these days, especially in these particular areas, they're armed and they're juveniles. So it's just best to let things be as it is. Don't confront those folks. I'm shocked that the guy jumped out of the car and took off, and he had another car waiting that he hopped into. And there was a stolen gun from another unlocked vehicle just a few doors down. That didn't have a serial number, so we've not really got a good lead on that. Just to talk about a few things off of that with the unlocked vehicles and different things, Lake Watch does a tremendous job of hitting the neighborhoods because we have had thefts all around this area. We have not had really any trends since February 22nd. But we put patrol notices in people's mailboxes. If we see anytime it's after midnight or anytime around that area, we'll even notice in their mailbox that their garage was open. You know, a car or different things that just don't look out of place. Just a perfect example. Sergeant Cirillo was out. This was on 3/12 on the late shift. Up in Bridgepoint, garage door open, notice put in mailbox, 1:55 in the morning. 7500 block of Chestnut Hill, garage door open at 3:10 in the morning. another one. At 2:25 in the morning over on Tallwood Court, garage door open, key fob in the seat of the Mercedes SUV. So the guys are really checking into doing that. We just need the buy-in for people to start locking their doors and not, it's laziness. I'm not going to kid you. I think that's exactly what it is. It's laziness. And it's costing, luckily our guys patrol very good in these neighborhoods because I think that does knock down some of our instances because it's been quite a bit around us. But that, enough of that. The Kroger, we have a serial shoplifter that we helped their loss prevention. This lady was burning up a lot of different Krogers. Got about $755 out of this one over here. She was in jail in Indiana. We helped them get information to take warrants. So she's not been back out here since. So that's really good. Glad you mentioned the cyber thing. That was a great success. I want to thank Lieutenant Colonel McKeon and our great resident retired FBI agent Terry Rancorn. They absolutely did a great job on that. We had, I think, 40 people here that came in. It was outstanding. It gives people a great idea. And I know I do talk about that at different times because the scam thing is infuriating and it's very good. They're very good at it. That was the 8th. On the 7th, we had a resident come in that had just been scammed out of $40,000. And it was a phishing thing on their cell phone, like we talk about on those things. For elderly, it's the home phone and the cell phone. Some of them are using cell phones, and that's really contributing to that. But I want to thank those two for doing that, and we're going to get that online. And as I always say, if there's any questions, if you have someone elderly in your life and you would like us to talk to them, to speak to them over the phone, sometimes they don't, and I'm a perfect example of this. Sometimes your own family members don't want to listen to you as much. If you can call us, we would be glad to talk to them, no matter how, it can be any time of the day. We will make a phone call. If they're a resident, we will go to their house. We will do anything to keep them from being scammed because it's truly heartbreaking at that point. This man lost $40,000 and it's not coming back. It's not. And it's so convincing. But anytime that you have anybody, you can call up here and we will meet them, call them. I'll do anything. And that's it. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the roofers are out going door to door. We just need to make sure they're in compliance with.
Absolutely. And if they call, if anytime we see them out, we always usually kind of check them to see. But yeah, they're definitely hitting it after the sale Saturday.
They've also put out temporary signs.
Oh, they have? Okay. All right, we'll check them out. And then we had Saturday, somebody called on somebody breaking into cars at Kroger lot during the middle of the day, which I thought was odd. As soon as I saw the run, guys got over there ASAP, blah, 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 whatever. But the guy took to the neighborhood app and said it took forever for the officers to get there. They drove past the guy, blah, blah, blah. You know, he was breaking in the cars. This is a perfect neighborhood app thing of not to believe what you read on there. The guys were there within a minute and a half. He told them the wrong color car. They did stop the people and they were putting basically flyers and cards on people's car after the hail damage. But if you read his post, you thought it was, the apocalypse. But that's a great example of, it was great for him to call in to make sure nothing was happening, but don't go post out and completely. And that's how the rumors get started on things like that. But I want to say our guys were there within a minute and a half.
Did you? I read that. Oh,
Yeah, I figured people read it.
Why couldn't somebody put a cover post?
They did.
Okay. I do get.
And if you notice, that guy had no comment. He had the comments turned off because he knew what he was putting on there. That's why he turned them off.
Phone call today.
Yeah.
Answer FBI agent.
Yeah, they're not. Anybody calls your phone and says they're any type of law enforcement, hang up and block that number.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, block that number. Anything else?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank
Any
you
other
all.
questions? Thanks, Chief. We appreciate it. All right, we'll move to new business. The next item on the agenda is resolution number 3, series 2025. Resolution dedicating and naming the Harris Creek Park Stream Bridge as the Linda Wardell Bridge. And it's a brief resolution, I'm going to take a moment and read it. Whereas Linda Wardell has served and led the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for over 15 years to improve the city of Prospect by developing and enhancing the city's parks. And whereas Mrs. Wardell has served the city with distinction, honor, and dedication during periods of tremendous growth in the city. And whereas Mrs. Wardell proposed the creation of a bridge to span the Harrods Creek Park stream and worked tirelessly to make the bridge a reality. And now, therefore, be it resolved this 17th day of March, 2025, by the city of Prospect that the Harrods Creek Park Stream Bridge be and hereby is dedicated to Mrs. Linda Wardell and is named the Linda Wardell Bridge. So that is the resolution that's in the packet that went to the council members. Is there a motion to approve that resolution?
So move.
Mayor Evans?
Second.
Mayor Evans made the motion. Councilman Holmes seconded it. Is there discussion?
Yes, I'd like to say a few things. Defense of my motion. Recently, I did some research and in the city of Prospect research, and I learned that before 2009, we had no parks, zero. We had Cali Park, about 4 acres where people walk their dogs, but that's about it. But we owned the land where where Harrods Creek Park is, but we had never done anything with it. We didn't have Putney Pond Park. We didn't own that. And in 2009, under the leadership of Mayor Eberly, we formed a committee which became the Parks Committee. And ever since then, we've had the leadership and hard work of Linda Wardell. Ever since. That's a long time. And I've been there for major parts of it, and I've seen Linda doing a tremendous amount of work and organization of her committee. And I think more than any other person, she is responsible for what we have today in the parks. The United States has an award that they give to outstanding citizens, and you see this or that president putting the ribbon around somebody's neck. And I wish Prospect had one of those, because if they did, Linda would be the first one to get it. When Sally Snyder was talking to us a few minutes ago, she talked about who would replace Linda. But she won't be replaced. Can't. She'll be succeeded. All I can say, Linda, is thank you so much.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that. Yes.
Can I say a few
Yes.
words, please? I've had the pleasure of serving on the advisory committee now for about 5 years, I think. And Linda is probably one of the most exceptional persons and leaders that I've ever had experience working with. She is someone who has the philosophy of listening to everybody, taking that into consideration, but when it comes down to it, rolling up her sleeves and getting the job done. And that really reflects on the kind of leadership she has. I'll point you all to 2 things that show the exceptional leadership that she is. All you have to do is look around the parks in Prospect, and you'll see the hard work that she has put in for those many years. But the second thing I'll point out to, and I'm not being facetious in this, is that you can recognize how exceptional she is, because right now we have 3 people who are replacing her in her job. And all 3 of the people that are chipping in to do this are strong exceptionally talented individuals. But it's taking 3 people right now to do what Linda has done. And that tells you everything about what she's done and the kind of person she is. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, David. Further discussion by the council? Are we ready to vote? We'll vote then. Mrs. Leonard
Yes.
and Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes,
Mayor Evans,
you know the answer.
Don Gibson,
Yes.
Christian Furman.
Yes.
Okay, I think it's unanimous. Thanks so much, Linda, for all that you've done and are still doing. We appreciate it. Okay, then moving on, the next item on the agenda is the first reading of ordinance 648. I won't read the title, but it's an ordinance that amends building regulations to allow for construction of pool houses on certain residential lots. Is there a motion to give that ordinance a first reading?
So made.
Mr. Gibson made the motion. Mr. Clark seconded. And is there discussion?
I have one minor change.
Yes.
On the last letter, L is struck and K is substituted. I think it should be L struck and substituted. Spoke with John this afternoon about it.
Forgot the ABCs.
Just strike that.
So it's just a clerical thing. Do you need a motion for that, or Chris, do we need?
I think that's we'll count that as a Scrivener's error and make that
Okay.
correction.
Okay, good deal.
Is there further discussion?
Mayor, I'd like to ask a question. to Somebody on the committee. I support the changes that have been made. I particularly like the fact that the size of the pool house is proportional to the size of the houses that people have. I also like the fact that it does not allow for people to live in the pool house, as we've seen in other locations. And there's nothing necessarily wrong about that. But in our neighborhoods, the houses are too small to really support an apartment over the pool house. The one question that I have, don't understand where this came from, is that we're saying that you can only build pool houses 3/4 of an acre. And I don't know why that necessarily is. It seems that's very limiting to having pool houses. Now, obviously, if you have a small lot, you're not going to be able to, probably build a pool in the backyard, or that'll take up all the backyard, much less than put a pool house. But whether 3/4 of an acre limits the use of having pool houses exclusively in Prospect, I don't know. It may be that 3/4 of an acre is the appropriate size. I don't know the answer to that. But I'm wondering if 1/2 an acre would be okay too. I don't know the answer. I can't hear you.
There's a lot of discussion on that size lot, we should, recommend. The way it is right now, it's 3 acres. By the time you scale down size of the homes, the size of the front yard, your side yards, that any property backyard is limited by, how much land is going to be left, then you can make consideration of acreage. Put in 240 square foot pool house, and you have an acre. The size of that pool house is not going to be commensurate with the rest of the neighborhood.
So
We may have some pool houses now, but they're on smaller lots. I think we've got
So,
We do.
so the discussion's on the motion for first reading. And I'm going to suggest, I think it's a very good point that you've raised, David, but I suggest maybe you and Bob and maybe Herb Schulter, who's an architect who's on that committee, put your heads together and
I'm not sure it's really necessarily having to do more than just determine how many 3/4 of an acre lots we have versus how many 1/2 acres. And then could you have a swimming pool on a 1/2 acre but not necessarily build 240 square feet. You could build it smaller, or is that so small it would look like, a shed or something, that it wouldn't look attractive? I don't know the answer to that. That was just the one thing in going through this, I looked at it, I picked out and I said, what's,
Bob, will you all be meeting again before the next council meeting? I think I would suggest that you do, and maybe if David's available to attend and Herb is there and the other members of the committee, you all could have that discussion and come back with a recommendation. I don't know the answer either, David, so I think it's a fair question and one worth exploring. It sounds like there was a good rationale for what you proposed, but maybe test that a little bit with some discussion. That'd be great. Thank you.
And I just want to double check. So that last one, that K, that's now M, but so only one outbuilding will be permitted on any one residential lot. So you cannot, you're just saying there's no pool house plus, you can't have like a pool house and an outbuilding together, right? Just one or the other.
Way the ordinance is right. At all. 3 acres or more. And this only is an exception for pool house.
I see. So the 3 acres would still be the, right, or some out, yeah.
Is there further discussion? And so I'll just remind everyone, this is a first reading of this ordinance, so there's changes can be made that they're not so substantive as to cause our attorney discomfort, and we can still move forward with a second reading at the next meeting. Are we ready to vote?
just as a point of interest, when the city was founded 50 years ago, there was an ordinance that said you couldn't have clotheslines either.
Clotheslines.
I don't know if it's still on the books or
I
not.
don't think it is.
Okay, let's vote. Dr. Furman,
Yes.
Mr. Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Evans,
Yes.
David Holmes.
Yes.
John Clark.
Yes.
Sandra Leonard.
Yes.
But we better have a first reading. So I don't know who made the motion to approve this. Don Gibson.
Yes.
Don, would you read the title?
City of Prospect ordinance number 641, series 2025, an ordinance relating to the amendment and modification of chapter 154 swimming pool with the code of ordinance of the city of Prospect.
All right, and then the further explanation that was in the agenda is this ordinance amends building regulations to allow for the construction of pool houses on certain residential lots. So let's move to the next item on the agenda. That's the first reading of ordinance 649, series 2025, also having to do with swimming pools. Is there a motion to approve that ordinance for a first reading?
May.
Mr. Gibson, is there a second? Second. Mr. Clark, is there discussion?
Only in that I support the concept that went to your meeting. And when I read the sentence that is being implemented here, I'm not positive that it totally accomplishes what we want to do. And I wonder if Mr. Carter would read the sentence.
What section?
It is chapter 154.06, screen for pool equipment. All pool equipment, such as pumps, filters, heaters, chlorinators, UV or ozone systems, automation systems, and pool vacuum systems shall be placed at least 10 feet from the nearest property line and screened by a green barrier or living screen composed of hedges, shrubs, or other plants sufficient to block the view of said equipment from adjacent properties.
My concern is that there's nowhere in our ordinance that the words green barrier are defined. And knowing how creative people can be, I think we could end up with green things that don't begin to approach what we want. I agree. I think that the other part is, I moved here almost 30 years ago from California. Everybody had one. And if we're saying a green barrier is something that is trees and living, I know from my personal experience, you can't always do that. You can't always have something, I'm an avid gardener. You can't always put something in and expect it to live. So what I'd like to do, and I said this at the meeting, I'd like us to explore that we might prefer that. We might prefer something living. But if we really want screening, you've got to allow a little bit broader set of options. On the other hand, I'm all for screening. I think pumps and everything are ugly.
I should probably comment now. You all had asked me to opine on the issue of whether or not this could be retroactive. And I've looked at it. I don't have anything in writing to you, but I will get something in writing. I do not think it can be retroactive. It's not a safety issue. It's an aesthetic issue, noise issue. And I think what a judge would do is he would have a balancing test. And when he say, what is the burden on the homeowner versus what is the interest of the city? And my feeling is that he would say it cannot be retroactive, and I'll get you something like that in writing.
Do you think that if we allowed some kind of a rational time frame, that it would be allowable? In other words, not retroactive, proactive into the future.
I think going forward, you can do it, but I just don't think you can go back and tell people they have to do it now when they built their pool based upon what the regulation and the code was at that time.
In reliance on that.
In reliance on that.
But you could say like within the next 5 years, everybody has to have something around.
Yeah,
those
they're
pool
not
equipment.
allowed,
Yeah.
but they're not some. And I don't know about 5 years. I don't even give 10 years, whatever.
But also, is it for just the aesthetics, or is it like the look, or is it also the sound? Because with living hedges and stuff, I don't know, would it protect against the sound, or do you need something else for sound?
Such that mostly it's basically our sound barrier and stuff. We thought that, maybe more in terms of the village screen, but, it's sound line and put up some kind of a wall or stone wall, and everything. During the moments.
So,
Those things can be quite noisy.
so Bob, if that's the case, then we ought to say in the amendment that you're making, sufficient to block the view and sound.
Yeah, but we're not, that would be,
And that might change our esteemed attorney's position.
Let me suggest the same thing I suggested previously. Bob, if you're able to convene your committee before the next meeting, add this to the agenda, and Sandra's good comments, David's good comments can all be considered. I will say, with regard to the question of whether this can be made retroactive, I agree with Chris. I don't think that would stand muster in a court in Kentucky. So that's my thought, but he's going to put something in writing. We can consider that.
And for what it's worth on the sound issue, I've been through this before and had expert testimony on one case. And according to sound engineers, greenery does not provide any protection for sound, does not reduce sound at all. You have to have something else, that trees and shrubs do not reduce sound. So I assume that's true. Some expert figured that out. He's much smarter than I am. He said that trees, shrubs do not reduce sound.
well, the new pumps are not as noisy as the old ones. They're really, the old pumps were noisy.
Okay, that's good discussion. I think we've got a plan for going forward. Are we ready to vote on whether there be a first reading of this ordinance? Right. If so, I'll start Ms. Leonard
Yes.
and Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mayor Evans.
Yes.
Mr. Gibson
Yes.
and Dr. Furman.
Yes.
Okay, and Don, I'll ask you if you would again read the title.
City of Prospect, ordinance number 649, series 2025, an ordinance relating to the amendment modification of chapter 154, swimming pools of the code of ordinances to the city of Prospect.
And the sentence that was added in the agenda is, this ordinance amends swimming pool regulations to require the screening of pool equipment from view of adjacent properties. So I think we've concluded that. I think that concludes our agenda. Is there other business to come before the council? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
It's crazy. What's he doing?
Cheers.
I almost brought that up. You can do that. I think,
We need to go ahead with this.